Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
All right, we're back. We don't want to be boring and only talk about politics. However,
However,
it is an election year, a presidential election year, and there's so much going on. And this is something we were both really interested in. Danielle is much more involved in it than I am because she's getting signatures. But today we want to talk about gerrymandering, which a lot of people have probably seen that word. Maybe not everybody knows what it is. It is also called fair districts, and it has to do with the way maps are drawn for voting purposes. It's historical. It started happening really in the early 1800s, which is how it got its funny name of gerrymandering.
Should I tell?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell them.
The guy,
Elbridge,
Gerry, was the first person to redraw maps and redistrict, and it made the news. And of course, it's going out in newspapers, not Facebook or whatever, but the newspapers printed it and they show a picture of the new district that was drawn, and everyone said it looked like a salamander. So then they combined salamander and Gerry, which was the guy's last name, and got gerrymandering. Or gerrymander, really. And so, yeah, that's how it got its name.
Yeah. Interesting. And yeah, so we have a lot of information about gerrymandering / fair districts. Danielle was explaining to me how it depends on who's giving the narrative, whether we're kind of using the slur of gerrymandering or whether we're calling it fair districts. There is a big push in Ohio right now to have a committee made up of citizens, not politicians, to draw these maps, to try to keep them fair.
Yeah. So there's an organization called Citizens Not Politicians who are working to get this amendment on the November 2024 ballot. And so the amendment will, it'll have 5 Republican citizens, 5 Democratic citizens, and 5 independent citizens who are in charge of drawing up the new maps versus who is drawing it now, which are usually your incumbent politicians, lobbyists, political figureheads, and people of power.
Sure. So it's going to be the party in power trying to redraw the districts. What I want to know, I mean, I don't know the best place to start, but what I'm very curious about is, this has been a topic. This has gone to the citizens to vote on in the recent past, and the Supreme Court multiple times have upheld how the way maps are drawn currently are illegal.
Yeah. In 2018 in 2015 and 2018, there were things that were passed that would make it illegal to gerrymander, right? And that is not being upheld by Ohio politicians and a lot of many other states, to be honest. And so, the Ohio Supreme Court has ruled it over 7 times to be unconstitutional. Our maps currently are unconstitutional as of 2022. And so when you're kind of going around and you're collecting signatures from people right now, they're like, I thought we passed this stuff already. Like, why are we doing this again? Busy lady. And they're like, this has been on the ballot before. Didn't we just vote on this? And yes, we did. And we're all tired of hearing about it, I'm sure. But I think how this one is going to be different. And actually, Michigan just passed something too very similar to this. It's, a committee or a group of people that are just citizens drawing maps versus the politicians. And so I think that's how this one's different. It's like we're taking the power away from political figures and people of power and the people who it's benefiting right now, and putting it back in the hands of the citizens, which truly is what voting and like politics is all about, right? Like you have someone who represents the citizen, and the citizens are not feeling represented when it's the politicians choosing on their maps, who is voting for them.
Right. Yeah, I think the one in Michigan passed last year in 2023, similar to our movement here is called Citizens Not Politicians. I think their movement was called Voters Not Politicians, but it was the same idea. Mm-hmm. If we don't allow the politicians to have the power to gerrymander and screw up the maps in their favor, and we make it an even playing field of, like you said, the 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, 5 independents, mm-hmm. then the courts not upholding their own decisions is kind of a moot point.
Right.
Like we can move forward. And I don't know if that's a good place for you to show your examples.
Sure. Yeah. So I am a very visual person. And so for me, like you can tell me the definition of gerrymandering, and which also, I mean, just full honesty, I didn't even know really what it was. I knew that it had a negative connotation. I knew it wasn't something good for citizens and voters, but did I like really understand it? No, probably not up until like last year. And so, the definition in itself is just like when incumbent politicians are drawing district maps to benefit themselves and to, choose who is voting for them versus letting citizens vote for who they want to represent them. So being a visual person, I saw this graphic and it was really helpful for me. So I've blown it up for you guys, but let's just like imagine that there's a location of 50 people, and you've got 20 who identify as the Green Party and 30 who identify as the Yellow Party. Each one of these darker black lines is representing our district. So, obviously the yellow is the majority, but each one of those sections is divided evenly for fair representation. So in this instance, green is going to have 2 people to represent, and yellow will have 3, because that looks pretty fair to me, right?
That's what makes sense.
Right. You could draw it this way, and the darker black lines are dividing up our districts again. And in this instance, you have a majority yellow here, a majority yellow, majority yellow, majority yellow, majority yellow. And so, oh wait, no, am I in the right order? Oh yeah, I mixed them up, but that is the right. So in this instance, we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 representations of yellow versus green. So there's 0 representation there for green. So not fair. That's a not fair map. This one, let's see, we've got, these lines are getting a little more complex here, but we've got a yellow majority here. We've got a green majority here, a yellow here, and green here. So that is actually fair. Okay, because we know that there are 30 yellows to our 20 green, and we've got 1, 2, 3 yellow and 1, 2 green. So that's a fair one, even though it looks a little wonky. Okay, then they get like, and this is real life, they get really, really, really kooky. If you've just actually looked up just districts, Ohio districts, they're kooky. Okay, this one we have, all right, this one here, this is a block, and we've got green wins because there's more green than yellow, okay? This one over here, we have more yellow, okay? Then there's one here, and this is green wins, there's more green. Then there's one yellow here, so yellow would win that one. And then down here, we have another green winning in this shape. Okay, so you might be thinking to yourself, okay, wait, I saw that original one. There are 20 green and 30 yellow. How could green ever take advantage of yellow? Okay, but in this map, it shows you how green could take advantage of yellow. So now green has 1, 2, 3, and yellow has 2.
Right.
Which is crazy. right? Like you just, as a voter, you think, okay, my one vote, one voice is going to be heard and represented.
Sure. But then they take liberties with the way they want to draw neighborhoods or cities.
Yeah, because they get all of your information. They have your voting records. They have your address. They have who you voted for in the past. And so a politician can be like, well, I need this green vote or this yellow vote or whatever, and group it in to their district so they get that vote.
Right.
So it's a problem.
It is a problem.
It's a problem.
So we have our handy dandy cheat sheet.
Yep.
And it's talking about when voting districts are drawn by incumbent politicians, so that they can maintain their power, which is all this is about. It just makes it inherently unfair. We have no voice if the politicians can keep moving these magical invisible lines back and forth. And it's not, it's really such a nonpartisan issue because whoever's in power does it.
Yeah.
So for, since the early 1800s, whoever's in power, they just redraw those maps. And what we're trying to do is get enough signatures in Ohio to put this on the ballot in November.
Yeah.
So we can talk to our Democrat friends, our Republican friends, our independent friends, and say, listen, let's just, moving forward in Ohio, always have the even playing field.
Right.
So it's a matter of getting enough citizen signatures that are valid to make that hit the ballot in November, and to have conversations like this one about why it's important to get out and vote in November.
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing is, as Danielle is going to get her, she takes these petitions to events and things and gets signatures with many other people across the state. But what we're seeing is it's mostly Democrats and independents, gathering.
Yeah. Okay. So as Tina said, this is a completely nonpartisan issue, which means it's not backed or funded by Democrats or Republicans or independents. It means that it's nonpartisan, so there's no sides. It means that both sides or all sides actually want this. And so as Tina said, I do collect for this petition, and so I have to present it as that this is totally nonpartisan. This is not coming from the Democrats or Republicans or independents. This is coming from literally citizens, and it's a nonpartisan issue. And so it's truly not about are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? It's we're all coming together for the same cause, because if we want just fair and free elections, this is part of that, right? If we're all wanting just things to be fair and nobody cheating, which is what I basically call it. It's you're cheating to get votes, right?
So it's totally cheating. And that's where I was, all of this is to explain where I was taking this.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that the people gathering signatures predominantly that we're seeing in our area are Democrats and independents, and not Republicans. Okay, that makes sense in the fact that right now Republicans have the most power, so they don't want fairness.
It wouldn't benefit them at all right now to
be
part of this, right? But in the future, it could if Democrats were in power.
Exactly.
And they would want things to be fair.
Exactly. And that's my point. We've been trying to make a few connections with Republicans in our town, asking if they would support and or get the training needed to get the signatures, because we want them involved.
Yeah.
We want it to come across as the nonpartisan issue that it is, but we need them to participate for it to come across as being a nonpartisan issue. And
it's a little discouraging when you're going to all the Zoom trainings and meetings and you keep hearing this is nonpartisan, and so Republicans are involved too. And then you hear them say like, well, my Republican friend isn't actually on this Zoom right now. And like, oh, the Republicans couldn't make it, da, da, da. Like, it is super discouraging because I'm like, where are they?
Yes, it is discouraging. And I get that it's not part of maybe the script that they're following right now because they don't want to lose their power, which is a very interesting nugget for me because we're both new to politics and we both agree that mostly we don't like scripts. We were brought up and our ethics, our personal ethics are to vote for the person or vote for the issue and not strictly party line. Neither party likes when you say those things because it's very complicated and it has to do with funding and it has to do with all sorts of things.
Right.
However, when we're talking to our family members or friends or acquaintances that we meet when we're out and about, the average person, I believe, really is concerned about fair districts, is concerned about reaching across the aisle, is concerned about having both parties get involved in nonpartisan issues and have a meeting of the minds. Yeah. So, I mean, we're trying to do our part to move that forward.
Yeah. I could share, I mean, I've had some interesting / kind of negative experiences while collecting, and I've had some really awesome positive ones too. And so
hit me with the bad stuff first.
Okay. So while I was collecting in town, I was at a local bar and we were approached by an older white male, put his hand on my back even, and like, you know, introduced himself. And, you know, he's a big guy, way taller than me. Like, his presence was big. And the first thing he asked us was, if the election were held tomorrow, who would you be voting for? Which again, like we had to explain, this is not what this petition is about. This is a nonpartisan issue. Like, we're not here to discuss our politics or who we're voting for. And he told me to shut the F up.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like scared, shocked, and stayed silent the rest of the time. Like, now I've shut down. You don't have my respect anymore. That's not what we're here to talk about. And I had totally checked out. I was done talking to him. Like, that's, I mean, I don't know, other than picking up our things and walking out of there, what else I could have done. Finally, we had some help and someone stepped in and, you know, I had already attempted to explain what gerrymandering was. He had basically said to himself, or said to us, that depending on who the politician is, I really don't care if they're cheating. Which was, it's like, in the climate, the political climate that we're in right now, I feel like I knew that and I should have expected some of that. But to hear it out loud, it's like we're saying the quiet part, it's out loud now.
We are.
And that was almost the more like scary or jarring part, was like, oh wow, we went there.
He was, I remember you calling me after that event, and there's just so many things wrong with it. First of all, to be so familiar, to put his hand on the small of your back. And he came at it, as I recall, he was already ready for the fight as he walked up. Instead of just respecting your space, he doesn't have to agree or want to get engaged with it. He could move on and have a drink at the bar. And instead he took up your time and energy and was, you know, really
intimidating.
Yes. Intimidating you guys.
Yeah.
Which is super unfortunate. A good cautionary tale. I'm glad that I know from the taking the training myself, even though I'm not doing the signatures, best to go out in pairs.
Yeah.
I would say for anything political, but especially trying to get signatures, because no matter how much your good intention to explain that it's a nonpartisan and it's really just to be fair and have a better democracy for all of us, people are going to want to pick the fight.
Yeah.
So that was not good. But What was the positive?
So then I had another event that I went to and brought my petitions with me, and a lady approached me, or girl, I mean, she was younger, maybe my age. She approached me from across the room and she's like, I just want you to know, like, I've seen you collecting signatures from across the room. I also collect in my own county, and I just wanted to thank you. And it was like the sweetest, it almost, I mean, didn't totally negate, my negative experience. It helped a lot.
Yeah.
It almost brought me to tears because I was like, wow, like, for every no that you get, or no thank you, or people who are not interested, or, the jackhole who wants to know how I'm going to vote and telling me to shut up, like somebody who does appreciate that I'm there. And, I had asked 2 women if they were interested in signing, and I just said I like their clothes, I like their vibe, and I just felt like they were approachable, and they were like, we hate gerrymandering, yes, of course we'll sign. And like, it was just such a positive experience. Yeah. And so some of it is almost like knowing your audience, and maybe, a bar in a really small conservative town wasn't it. And the other place that I went to was. And so, I mean, it's been interesting, and it's been kind of all over the place. I feel like another little nugget that I'm getting from people is like, you have to be a registered voter in order to sign these petitions. And so when your first question is like, hi, are you a registered voter? I'm getting a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And that's the other part that's like, oh boy.
That's super interesting. So that brings me a little off topic, but do one of you then bring voter registration forms?
Yeah. So I actually believe on here there's a QR code for, voter registration.
Because registering to vote is incredibly easy.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be, I feel like when I was young, it was a process, or, you had to get in the car and actually drive someplace very specific. And now
you can do it online. You need your driver's license, and you need to know your social, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be going to the BMV or the title,
you can do it there too.
You need to update your driver's license or whatever, you can do it there.
Yeah.
I think Eric might have even said you can go to the library.
Maybe.
I'd have to look.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to that.
Right.
All I know is it's really easy. And
there's also a lot of really helpful groups out there, like to answer questions.
Oh my gosh. The League of Women Voters is a great resource. I know. The Board of Elections is a great resource.
I'm sure there's millions of YouTube videos of like how to register to vote, But yeah, now it's just a QR code, and you take your phone and you scan it, and it pulls it up for you, and you can do it right then and there, and then we can have them sign. Yeah. And like, if you're going to be 18 by the November election, you could also sign.
Yes, which I absolutely love, because with my goddaughter being 17 and she registered in time to even vote in the March primary, excellent. But no matter what, she would have been registered, and now she can vote in November because she'll be 18 by then, and these things are going to be affecting her. That just brings us to a really good point. I mean, I'm hoping everybody understands how gerrymandering is not really good for anyone in the big picture. It may benefit.
It's only benefiting the person who's in power at that moment.
Yes. And we know the pendulum swings. Right now, it feels like this state will always be Republican. I know this county seems very Republican.
But how much of that is because of unfair districting, right? Like, how much of that is because of these kooky maps where, people are not being fairly represented?
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. But I kind of would like to take all the gerrymandering and fair district and how it is truly, truly nonpartisan, and kind of close on that last nugget that you had, because we touched upon it before with the signs when we were trying to figure out how many Republicans and how many Democrats lived on the streets in our neighborhoods. And when we were looking it up, we found, maybe there's 10 Democrats, but there's 25 Republicans, but there are 40 people with no voting history. And it's so shocking to us because we were raised to vote.
Right.
So
are we landing on,
I think,
register to vote?
We're landing. We're taking all that good information about why gerrymandering is important, and we're hoping to have enough signatures. we want you to register so that you can sign these petitions.
Oh, yeah. And did I say like how many signatures we need? Did I say that? If
No.
I didn't say that,
a lot.
We're shooting for 700,000 signatures just in Ohio. Okay. Because it's an Ohio thing. We really only need, I think, like 450,000, but you have to account for all the things like a bad signature, someone who's not a registered voter, someone who passes away, someone who moves, someone who accidentally double signed, someone who didn't fill out the petition correctly. You're accounting for all these mess ups or mistakes or whatever. And so, of course, we're like almost doubling the goal. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but like we need a lot. So if someone asks you, if someone's holding this little thing and they're asking you if you're interested in signing a petition in front of your library or Giant Eagle or whatever, please do it before June.
Yes, we need the signatures by June, no matter what, whether it's gerrymandering or anything else. I can't even express how much we want everyone to vote. We don't care if we agree on politics or don't agree on politics. The way it works is we all should have a voice. And with early voting, with mail-in voting, like it is easier than ever.
Yeah.
So yes, I kind of want to end this on, because you can't be signing petitions if you're not a registered voter.
Right.
So the key to helping us end gerrymandering is to register to vote.
Yeah.
And yes.
And so then signing the petition and then voting on it in November, hopefully, if it's on the ballot.
Yep. I think we can do it.
I think so too.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Till next time. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.